Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today with something a little bit different. We're going to create our own little bonsai pot today. What we're going to use for that is polymer clay. So it is basically a form of plastic that you can bake in the oven, so in a normal oven in your house, and it will then become solid and you have made yourself a nice little bonsai pot. So let's get this out of the packaging and really start going with it. So this comes in many different colors. In this case, I chose black because I think this would look quite nicely as a pot. I will put some of it to the side. We're going to use that later for the feet of the little pot that we're going to do. Not sure if this is enough. Think a little bit more maybe still. And then we actually start to work the clay a little bit. So what we're actually going to do is to start to knead it a little bit because it is not really giving in at the moment, so you really need to activate this clay a little bit by just starting to form it a little bit. This is actually not that easy in the beginning, but it gets softer with time, also with warming up in your hands, and then normally you will see how it gets easier to work it. So right now I'm really working it mostly with my hands because, as I said, it helps warm up the clay, which makes it easier to form. I tend to wear gloves when I do pots out of this polymer clay. I have already tried a couple of these pots. It can happen that it stains a little bit. You can already see it here. If I put it here, it stains a little bit. So this also would stain your hands. So I would recommend you wear gloves when working with polymer clay. Also, when you choose a brand of polymer clay, make sure there is non-toxic varieties. That is of course also something you should keep in mind. So there is clays out there that are really a good choice to work with. You can also break it a little bit apart, for example, and work parts of it. Making them small, of course, helps a little bit with the ability to really work them. And then later on we put them back together. But these smaller parts are simply easier. So roll it a little bit. And now it's starting to become a little bit more malleable. So I'm also going to move on to this one and shape it a little bit still. And then bring them back together, and then we really start to form the pot. So we can then try to form it into a little ball. So using the surface a little bit here. And then we basically put our fingers through here in the middle to try to make a little indent. And from this on, we can then start to shape the pot. So we're really working our way inside out here. Trying to also lift it to really get some height here also with this pot. Trying to make my way around here. Trying to keep it thick enough so it doesn't cave in while we have it in the oven then. So of course, what do we need in a pot like this is drainage holes. For that, I just take the thicker side of a chopstick and I'm starting to twist it in here to make a little hole on one side. And we do the same on the other side. So 2 drainage holes for a pot this size, definitely enough. So once we have them, I'll make sure I work a bit over the clay here again. And what of course also makes sense to have in a pot like this is holes for the wire to put through. And for that I just take wiring, in this case 2.5 millimeter, because that is definitely enough to hold a tree in here. And again, we just poke some holes in here. So this is probably a bit easier if you move this up, and we have one. And let me just see where I'm going here. We have 2 holes for the wire as well. And of course, when we bake the clay, then these holes stay in place, and we can later on use them to wire in a tree. So this is the base of the pot. As you can see, quite small, so it's more of a mummy pot, but that is definitely enough. And then we still take that little leftover clay that we have, and we're gonna turn this into little legs for this pot still. So again, we work it a little bit just to make it softer, but this is already quite easy with so little clay left. Then I just roll it, and I would then cut it. I don't have a knife with me right now, so I just use the wire that I have to cut probably 4 equal parts in here. So 1, 2, and 3 and 4. And now I just squish them together a little bit to turn them into little legs. So leg number 1. Leg number 2. And also 3 and 4. We have finished them. Then we take the pot, we flip it around once more, and of course now we need to see where we position them in a way that they are adhering to the pot, first of all, but also that they don't get in the way of either the wiring holes or also the drainage holes. So we just plop them on here. I like to flip it around then, and then really push the pot onto the feet still a little bit, so it really stays together here. And we are finished. So it is standing on all 4 feet, seems to be balanced, it's not shaky or wobbly or anything. And what we have to do now, of course, is bake this. It depends on which polymer clay you use, so definitely read the instructions. This one goes in for 30 minutes at 100 degrees Celsius, and I will show you then the result. And we're also gonna pot a little tree in this one here still today. So after 30 minutes in the oven, you will end up with a hardened solid pot. So this is ready to use, and that's what we're actually gonna do right now. So we're going to pot a little plant in here. So for that, we're going to need some wire to fasten the tree into this pot, some mesh for the drainage holes, some soil, of course, for the repotting, and also a plant to repot. And for that, I have a little jade plant here prepared that we're gonna use for that. So first, of course, we need to set up the pot, and now what we did before really comes in handy. So those 2 little holes for the wiring are really just what we need right now to feed in the wire here. So I just make my way through here, making sure like we get the wire in here, and we just feed it through here. The wire is a bit tangled, so it could be a bit more difficult, but nevertheless it works quite well. So I'm just making sure the wire is straight here. And that's already that. Then what we're gonna do is actually take the mesh. So here and here, should work. And there we go. The 2 drainage holes covered like this. Then we can spread the wire here away, so it actually isn't in the way. Take some of the soil to create a little crown layer of soil here. Of course, not too much as the pot is quite small. Then we get our plant ready. Let me take this out here. I haven't repotted this in years, actually. It's still in basically cocoa coir mainly, so I'm not quite sure what roots we can expect here. It is very dry, of course at shade I only water it every couple of weeks. That's the way it does best actually. Which helps with the soil coming off. And as often is the case with succulents, of course, not that many roots, which not a problem. Still enough to work with, definitely. Let me see where we have roots, how deep we actually should pot this. So let me just clean the soil off from here. A couple of stones in here as well. And yeah, not the best root method, but enough to actually put this tree in here and also wire it in here and have all the roots covered. So we might actually have to take out some of this lower part here. Let me see. Or we take out some of the roots up here. That is actually the easier way. So I just pinch them with my fingers. Take them off from this part, which leaves us with a little bit more of the taper here and the trunk line. Then we take the wire and we go around this tree, of course. So let me see how I can best fixate this here. Probably by going around. Here still a little bit. And the same from here. And that's holding in place. Then we need to, of course, cut the wire. So to cut a wire, it's good to have some garden shears at hand, which can easily snap it then. Same also from this side. Then we make this one adhere still here, so it's also hidden a little bit underneath then here, making sure this is holding in position. And then what's still to do is to fill the soil. Which I definitely like the difference between the soil color and the pot color with this black pot. Fits also well to the big green leaves on this little jade plant. And we remove some of the debris here. And we have our little bonsai here. What I still want to do is actually work a little bit on the tree, which I can see here we have a very long branch, not really any ramifications. So let me just shorten this a little bit, and also on these parts take out the tip to encourage some more ramification. So just shorten it a little bit. But I already like how nice and woody it starts to get here. Definitely a tree that in the future will look great, and it has enough space in here as well. So there you have it, a little self-made pot already in use now with this little tree in here. Hope this video gave you an idea on how easy it can be with polymer clay like this to form your own little bonsai pots, especially for mame bonsai. They are very nice to try out. So give it a try. If you have any questions about it, of course, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like. And if you enjoy my channel, feel free to subscribe to it. Hopefully I will see you in the next video then, and until then, take care.